YB stays on your neck.
It's on my neck.
Yo, my dons, make sure you hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and obviously hit the bell for notifications. So the odds are in, or they've been in for a while, but essentially I haven't done an update on the odds. Well, I don't think I've done an update since June 1st, so this will be the first one. Into the fight, I'll probably do more of these videos, but anyway. The odds are in for AJ versus Margin Boo, and I'm gotta be honest, I'm quite surprised in a way. Well, I guess I'm not sure how I feel anyway. Let me tell you the odds. I don't like. I can never understand fractional odds. I like to see the probability in percentages. I don't understand why anyone would want to mess around with fractions for. Bottom line is, the percentages are it's around 75% for AJ and 25% for Margin Boo. Now, part of me feels like that's how it should be, because you've got to go based on the historical value in that sense, meaning you have to price in AJ's past. That said, based on that last performance, I can see how it could be a lot closer. But who knows how it's going to play out. Essentially, all we can do at this point is, and that's the great thing being a fan. Like, I'm glad that it's not me in there, because I can only imagine the pressure. But as I've mentioned in different videos before, these elite athletes, they deal, in my opinion, they deal with it differently. They get off on it. Yeah, they like it. So most of us like will bottle it when it comes to it. That's true. That's the truth of it. People don't like. People can sit on the internet and talk all they want, but all the people on the internet, whether they're producing content, whether they're in the comments, would bottle it when it came to it. That's the God's honest truth of it. These dudes, to their credit, they are able to. I don't know how they do it, but they're able to do it. They're able to get the job done, one way or the other. And the reason that's relevant is AJ, in my opinion, is an elite athlete. But this is gonna be the true test, in my opinion. This one here is gonna be a great test. If he can deal with Andy Ruiz, in my opinion, like people like Fury, it makes me laugh. People thought Fury would beat AJ. I just can't. I mean, I've got to be honest. Before Fury before it became apparent that Fury was shot, even before that I couldn't really get it, but now I still don't get it. People are saying, oh yes, Tyson Fury, he'll box Anthony Joshua's head off, all this kind of business. Still saying it today, even though we've seen him go life and death with Otto Wallen. That just don't make no sense to me. But the reason I say that is, what's Fury going to do? He's going to do absolutely nothing. If AJ can prove he can deal with Ruiz, there's not much left to be worried about in this whole boxing game. Wilder, alright hand, yeah? A big, long, and even then, in my opinion, these fighting someone like Ruiz, I think AJ can, listen, once you've learnt to deal with, once AJ's learnt, or assuming he does learn in his next fight, to tuck up and deal with 5, 6, 7 shots, when you go and fight Wilder and he's slinging one every now and then, it's a different ball game. Does that make sense? When you go from dealing with 6 shots at once to 1 shot at once, that's all Wilder does. All Wilder does is 1, 2. Trust me, it's almost like over conditioning yourself. When you get used to dealing with 5 things at once, dealing with 2, 1 or 2, it's not a problem. So that's why this test for me, as I mentioned to my dad a few weeks ago, or a few days ago, whenever it was, this for me is going to actually tell me what AJ's about. Is he all-time great caliber? Now people can sit there and, oh, YB, you're sucking Joshua off. You can all go mad saying that sort of thing, but for me that's the bottom line, because look back in not being funny, through history, there hasn't been many people who have faster hands than Ruiz. I'd probably go. I think Tyson's obviously more devastating. But take Tyson out of things. Take Mike Tyson out. Name me someone who you think has notably faster hands than Ruiz. I don't think there is. I think he's up there. I do. But that said, you know what they say. I was about to slag him off saying he doesn't have much power, but what they say is, what the old boxing people say is, speed kills. So if that's true, if speed does kill, then power ain't really that relevant. And we did see the first fight, but as I've said throughout this time, I've got a few niggles. I don't know if it's ever because I'm massively conspiratorial, but when I think of this fight, I've just got a feeling it's been set up. I've got a feeling about it, but We're gonna soon know. If he goes in there and it's done within 3 rounds, then I'm 100% sure it was set up. It was a they've created this. Yeah, if he goes in there and he does what he normally does, I'm gonna go with his setup. If he goes in there and it's something else, then it probably wasn't. But these are all, you know what, the fact I've got all these questions. Is he an all-time great? How will he win? Will he try and is he gonna try and do something he's never done before? Meaning, is he gonna try and box for 12 rounds? All these questions, it makes it much more exciting for me. Normally, going into a fight, it's kind of you kind of just expecting the same thing, but this is like it's all come at once, in my opinion. AJ's come up to a stage now where there's a lot of questions here, in my opinion. In as much as I keep saying about he's almost come to a pinnacle now, because for the last few fights, as in what fights have we got? We've got Parker, even to Cam, Povetkin to an extent. They were all like, they all weren't. Do you remember, if you cast your mind back to them times, people were starting to say, what's going on here? Like, meaning, it was starting to, his boxing style over them fights, over the last few years, has slowly changed. And then, in my opinion, that Ruiz performance was the pinnacle of it. It was the pinnacle of the champion's curse. The pinnacle of AJ was in there just purely trying to keep his belts. He completely changed as a fighter. That's what it looked like to me. It looked like that classic, when you've been champion for a while, for over time, it just, you forget what, you not forget what got you there, but you forget that it's hard to explain, but basically, what over time, all the champions I've observed, it's better. The best examples are, I'm trying to think of examples in boxing, but the best examples I think of are in MMA. Think of GSP, think of John Jones. When they came up, there was much more explosive. Then when they got the belts, over time they just started. They don't get any stoppages anymore. It's all about just kind of defending the belts and safety first kind of thing. And that's what I feel like happened with AJ in his last Ruiz fight. And that was the pinnacle, though, because if you look at the Cam fight and the Parker fight, they were all similar in as much as he wasn't really going for the win. He was more just trying to get through it and keep the belts. But in this fight, in my opinion, this Ruiz fight, I don't believe he's going to win by just trying to... But then again, he's lost the belts now. So in that regard, it might be a positive thing, meaning... When you've lost the belts, that champion's curse is gone now, because you haven't got them. But that said, is he going to be able to psychologically and physically get over all? You got to remember, it's not just Andy Ruiz in there. You've got a lot of other things, a lot of other factors and these are what I mean when I talk about it being exciting, because there's loads of questions. Is he going to be able to get over the money moistness? Because damn near all of us, we don't know what it's like to have $100 million in the bank. He's likely going to have $100 million in cash or cash or kind or cash or assets after this Ruiz fight. Is he going to? Does he really want to do it anymore? And this is the question we've got, and it's a fair question to ask. But we're going to see, and this is going to prove it. And that's why I said to my dad, if he comes through this one in devastating fashion or in great fashion, then that's going to prove to me that he's really about it. Because this is the crunch time now. And I actually do believe people have set their question in Ruiz, and I think that's probably something I haven't spent enough time on. I'll touch on it now, but I've got to be honest. Maybe I will be wrong. And once again, this is the interesting thing about sport. I could easily be wrong here. It could be a case that AJ goes in there, looks more devastating than ever, and Ruiz, it has been the one party, and then he's completely lost his head. That could also happen. But me personally, I've got a feeling that Ruiz is going to come with it. I don't know. That's what's in my head. I've got a feeling that the questions here aren't on Ruiz's side, but that's maybe because I'm an AJ fan, meaning that I've got my interest. I'm hoping Ruiz does come. To be honest, I don't want to see a bad Ruiz in there. That ain't going to do it for me. I want to see a good average, at least an average Ruiz, and what's its name? And a great AJ. That's what I want to see in there. But you got to be honest here. In 6 months, is that enough time? You know what? We know Ruiz has been training, so it's not even a case of he hasn't been training. He's going to come with it. He hasn't had enough time. He hasn't made enough money. Yeah, he's made $5 million or whatever it was after tax, but he hasn't made enough money for him to get moist yet. He hasn't had enough of it. Maybe 2 years from now, he might. But as an example, the equivalent of Ruiz now would be like when AJ won his first belt versus Charles Martin, that kind of time there, he was still it was still all new to him, and I think it's still all going to be new to Ruiz. He's still in that hungry phase. He hasn't had 3-4 years of it getting essentially boring. But anyway, listen, these odds: 75% AJ, 25% Ruiz. It's not bad. It's obviously not as good as the first fight's result odds, but if you want to make some, I guess it's not even bad. How much? So if you put 75 quid on AJ, you get 25 back on the win. I mean, it's what you like. I'm not personally a betting man, but if I was, you know what? I'm not even sure what I'd do. At them odds, at 50-50, I'd back AJ. At 75-25, I'd still spiritually in my soul, I'd back AJ. But in terms of the numbers, I think that's fairly priced. If I'm honest, 75. That's probably where I'd sit. Well, obviously, that's where the market's at, but that's probably where I feel comfortable. 75% sure. Yeah. So anyway, let me know your thoughts.